Welcome to the good, the Scaz and the rugby, where things are, we were loose out in Worcester, but it's a little loose here today. It's not Friday, although it feels like it. And we're here, as usual, with our friends at Allianz. Thanks for being our partners. Thank you for being our partner, Scaz. You like your microphone with your initials on it?
So fun.
Always so pretty.
It's so good. And the clipboards that were at Worcester.
And the clipboards.
Enjoyed those.
And there's a program here in the corner with Emily's face on it. It's so nice. And we have Mo Hunt with us.
Hello.
Hi.
Great to be here with the new microphones. Loving it.
Pretty microphones. We usually have a bit of a chat at the top about kind of what we've been up to and where have you been and where did you celebrate Christmas and what did you do for Easter. And this is a bit like a reunion because we all just saw each other the other day in Worcester. And Ashleigh Wilmot, our guest, was also there. She was on the BBC with Mo Hunt.
Yes, indeed.
So if you watch the Allianz Prem 15s, you'll know Ashleigh's face and voice very well. You guys are broadcast mates. Spent a lot of time on air together this season.
Yeah, we have.
You're a nightmare.
It's just so insane.
You're always copying me.
Classic Mo,
is there an echo in here? What's happening? And I love that both of you were rocking the frocks, both for the semis and for the final.
Cute.
Yeah, we were full of compliments. You looked amazing.
Yeah, so did you, wasn't it? We were messaging about what we were wearing, so we tried to sync outfits, colours,
And the Jubilee as well. We had to bear that in mind as well.
Platty Jubes. I mean, other people were showing royal children that they were being watched. And sitting on the stage at the big old concert over there. And we were rocking it out with every women's rugby fan in the land up in Worcester. I love that both of you were rocking a bit of cleavage. Can we go there?
Not too much, hopefully.
No, but I have, as a broadcaster, always been very conscious to not do that because it was frowned upon because I was almost always the only woman on set. And so it's like we all know you have boobs, you don't have to show them off, Was that a conscious decision? Was that something you discussed?
Wait, was it too far?
No. But I loved
Got
it.
Elma's attention for sure.
We were talking about beer fear before, weren't we? Mo's got that about this now.
Shaking.
No, I loved it. I felt like it was a safe and really beautiful way of doing it. And I felt like it was entirely appropriate. But it is something that I noticed.
Personally, for me, I think it didn't even cross my mind. I liked the dress. I felt good in the dress.
Yeah.
So I wore the dress. I am a woman. So
Exclamation mark.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I do have boobs. They're there. And
Yeah.
obviously it's to an extent, I think. I wouldn't just, I don't know, have them out. I felt good in the dress, so I didn't even think about it. Did you?
No, it didn't cross my mind.
I love the overtly feminine way in which both of you just lived and looked and just it felt really fresh. And Cat Merchant obviously is never cold because, I was wearing a blazer and jeans. It was like, maybe if I was that fit, I also wouldn't be so cold all the time. Maybe that's a life hack right there.
I always just think wear what you're confident in and wear what you feel good in because that's going to make you feel a lot more comfortable, especially when you're working on screen. So, yeah. I think
that's different for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And people have different styles. And, if you feel good, then hopefully your audience is going to have a good time because you're giving your best to them.
Did you have a good time?
Nah. Yeah, it was fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it was good fun. It was just an amazing occasion, wasn't it? And to have so many people there. So obviously you guys there, Scazzy on BT, everyone there just broadcasting and stuff. I think it's amazing where the women's game's gone.
Did someone explain why the BT microphone pop caps? So I'm obviously obsessed with this stuff. If you're listening to us, it's the little foamy thing that goes over the microphone that stops the wind from making it. I love the little branding on microphone pop caps. I love the fact that you guys have
Pop caps.
Yeah, so it's so that
caps, nice.
It doesn't go when you talk. It's like it has a function.
Be honest, did we all just learn something new?
We did.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I'm joking.
I love that you guys get to hold BBC ones or, Prem 15s or England branded ones, and you held the BT one, but it was red. Why is it red on the women's games and purple blue on the men's ones? Did anyone talk about that?
What a fantastic question.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely no idea.
I think they're normally different colours. They normally have 4 colours.
Ah.
So I think they're just randomly sporadic.
Oh.
It was just red.
I like the red ones. They're my favourite. It's the first thing when I saw you guys, but one of the first things I commented on.
I love your pop cap.
It shows you what Ashleigh and I...
Literally, you're so in tune with media world.
We honestly notice the weirdest things.
Yes.
I sometimes realize that when I watch TV with my sister or with because my husband and I both work in broadcasting. So we look at things we hyper-analyze. Oh my gosh. And then I'd watch something with my sister and I go, oh, why are they doing that? And she goes, no one noticed. You are literally the only person.
It's actually so irritating, I think, when you work in TV or in media and you're watching stuff and you're like, oh, that went wrong.
Oh.
And it's like no one else would ever notice, but just you. It's just so annoying. I can't enjoy telly anymore.
But now that you were a broadcasting pro, is there anything that you've learned or noticed now that you'd never ever paid attention to?
You're asking Mo and I?
Yeah.
Oh, broadcasting pro. I just assumed we were going to.
Yeah. No, the two of you. Because you were there with your little, analyst hats on.
I think like just my attention to detail. So I'm a little bit OCD. So like for me, it's like, when things, because naturally it doesn't all go to plan the whole time, especially when you're like behind the screen. So like little bits, if you can like see or hear it now, like when you're watching other things like what you were saying, you kind of notice that, I guess.
Do you notice what other people do and you go, ooh, that's a good one, I need to do that more?
Yeah. Or sometimes like, or bits of detail.
Disclaimer.
I don't know how much to say right now. No, like little bits of detail that you potentially would have picked out that hasn't been picked out, probably more so. And then it's like, so should I pick that out? And you kind of just like overanalyze and think like that.
And do you sometimes say things and you're like, I don't know, did I say too much?
Yeah, sometimes, especially when you're commentating, because there's no camera on you, sometimes I pull some funny faces because you've said something and you're like,
I literally do exactly.
Because you're like, what have I done? I've just said nothing. But you can't say, that was a load of crap. Like, do you know what I mean? You just have to let it run, pull a funny face and try and do better next time.
And move on straight away. Yeah. I like hit myself while I'm exactly the same face. I'm like, what is that?
I don't think people realise how hard that job is.
Yeah.
Like it's so full on. You're constantly thinking of and trying to add something and add a contribution to the context.
I would argue what you two do is way harder. And I'm actually really excited to hear
what you do is harder.
Because you always ask us the questions, so it's kind of nice to have the shoe on the other foot a little bit.
Yeah.
But what you guys do, because we're reacting to what we've seen. You guys are talking about things and making us react to things that we don't know is coming yet, which I think is just wild. Like when Elma I'll say answer something, and then Elma will just start talking about something, segue beautifully into something else, and I'm like, whoa.
That's probably where we differ. Beautifully, and I'm like, Mo, what am I doing now?
Not at all. But yeah, the segue for me, that's the bit as well. They're like how smooth you are with how you get in and out of different bits.
Yeah. And with somebody in your ear the whole time.
Yeah.
You got 20 seconds.
Yeah, I find that tough. Or I've definitely learnt a lot over the last year or so. But yeah, having someone talking, and sometimes they're not even talking to you, and you're like, okay.
I wish you'd shut up.
It's all go and like in the background in production, so you kind of just have to know how to adapt and just to tune in whilst also listening to your guest. You're like, okay, on to something else now.
Looking really interested at the answer most is given, but really.
The number of times I've had to ask a follow-up question and I didn't listen, but like not even a little bit.
You're like, please, I really hope they didn't just touch on this.
I'm literally like, I'm praying, like as I'm speaking, I'm just like, oh my gosh, did they just actually answer this question already or am I going? Is the experience of working on the Prem 15s teaching you things, or do you feel like you are investing experience that you've gained previously? Because I think what a lot of people don't realize when they watch you work is that you're actually, quite skilled and experienced.
I do.
You're not just an intern.
No. Yeah.
Oh, well, I was once. That's a really good question, I think. I've definitely gained so much experience from doing Premier 15s, 100%. And it's given me, a platform to work with so many different people and to get live hours under my belt, which, as you know, you never know what's going to happen in live telly. So it's every show is different. Every show I'm reacting to something different, or something's happened, or maybe something's not gone quite as we planned. And I think it's being able to react whilst also smiling. So it's like trying to do that.
I think the thing that people often don't appreciate, and I only know this because I've hosted test matches, is that hosting a test match is a lot easier than working on a random schools match somewhere in the middle of nowhere, or working on a production like the Allianz Prem 15s, which on some days you're on the BBC and on some days you're just being, streamed on, the Red Button or YouTube. Because on a test match, you have the best. You have the best crew, you have the best equipment, you have the most experienced people behind you. You are, as the host, you're a conduit for a lot of other excellence that then comes together in one place. But also, you can probably name the players on that pitch without doing any prep. Whereas if you're working on a random school game or, somewhere where it's less publicized and there's less record having been kept on that league, you're working so much harder, and you're working with pundits and analysts who are less experienced. So they're also in a much more kind of, still learning and finding their voice place, which is, when I watch you, I always think, I don't think people appreciate how important your role is and how much work goes into that.
I think it's like navigating a conversation and making sure we're moving on at the right time, and making sure that, once we've touched on a topic, not to go overboard, just as long as we're hitting the points. Obviously you get a running order, you know exactly what you've got to do and when, and you've got 9 times out of 10 you've got a director or producer in your ear just helping you along, just going, right, 20 more seconds on this conversation, then we'll just move on to the next bit. But yeah, I just think it is tough, but ultimately, like, it's such a great job and I absolutely love it. So
would you say rugby's like your sport? Because you've been doing loads of other stuff as well, which I think on Elma's point must be chaos and so hard. Because I know, like, we just talk about rugby. I've played it my whole life. I've watched it my whole life. Therefore, hopefully, you know a little bit about it. If someone asked me to go and do that on football or netball or a different sport, oh my good God, I'd need weeks in a booth watching it, doing my homework, etc. But you've been flipping around quite a few for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I ventured into the football world recently as well. But I would say that rugby's where it all began for me. I played rugby, which lots of people don't know. I
didn't know that.
Yeah, so I played it at school.
What position were you?
I was second row. I was one of the tallest. So I grew up. My uncle, he played rugby, and I was really inspired by him. Dad loved watching it. And that's where I guess it was following my family. Like, I used to go to the games with them. They used to come and watch me play. And that's kind of where that all began. I never expected to be having a career in rugby. And it's just been a total, like, lovely surprise that my life has, like, ended up here. But like, the football thing, everything, since I've gone freelance last year, I guess you never want to say no to an opportunity. You kind of just want to throw yourself into it. And I think being out of your comfort zone is, a great gift almost, because it really pushes you. So, and also it's more live hours. So it's like experiencing different things, working with different people. And it's an absolute privilege.
But you haven't just landed here.
No.
Like, someone didn't pick you up and dropped you into position and shoved a microphone into your hand. There's been sacrifice, hard work.
I think actually lots of people don't realise that either. I think they don't understand what, like the stuff you don't put on Instagram, for example. I don't post about all the teas and coffees I've had to make, or all the unpaid work. Like, a lot of voluntary hours have gone into what I'm doing now. I think people just see me there maybe and just think, oh, where's she come from?
So if 17-year-old Ashleigh is listening to this, what advice would you give her if she's been watching the Allianz Prem 15s and she's gone, do you know what, I don't think I'll be Mo or Emily anytime soon, but maybe I'd like to be Ashleigh?
Just do exactly what you do and just be yourself. I think don't hold back. If you feel like there's an opportunity, just go for it, because I think if you don't back yourself, then no one else is going to put you in those situations. You have got to knock on the door and you've got to just keep trying. And I feel like that's what I've done.
Where did you start?
I didn't even study media. I did English and drama at university. And then I decided to study an NCTJ and become a qualified journalist.
What is an NCTJ?
NCTJ?
Don't look at me.
It's National Journalism. No, National Certificate of Journalism.
Okay, but when you did the English and the drama, what was the plan with that?
I wanted to perform. Yeah. So
It's similar though,
What,
isn't
like
it? It's
Downton-
all-
yeah, the
they're not-
adrenaline, I
Downton
think.
Abbey.
Like Downton Abbey, like Lady Mary Crawley.
Not quite, but I definitely knew I wanted to perform in some aspect. I mean, as soon as I finished university, I went on a cruise ship and I was doing entertainment on that. So I just...
What was your?
Have you got
What
some
did you
clips?
do?
Have I got some clips?
Did you
That will
trapeze?
never
Like,
see the light of day,
come
Scaz.
on.
Never.
did you cabaret?
No, I just was part of the entertainment team. I hosted a lot of things, lots of shows. I sung, and
You sang?
I was in a band when I was at school, and I
Mo's
absolutely
given us
loved
a
it.
little snippet before of her singing abilities.
yeah, go on,
Have you got
come on.
something for us?
What's your karaoke song, Mo?
Laffy Taffy.
How does that go?
I can't, it's not PC. I'll show you later.
No, the first
I'm
bit.
excited
looking for
for
Mr.
that.
Bubblegum. I'm Mr. Chico Stick. I wanna da da da. Oh, because you said.
Okay, go.
No, I feel like no.
Come on, I've
no, I
literally just sung
can't.
Laffy
So
Taffy.
you were in a band.
Yeah, absolutely loved it.
What
for
did you do
years.
in the band?
I sung
What kind of music did you do?
covers mainly.
Of?
I was Amy Winehouse.
Oh.
Yeah, a bit of Chelsea Dagger. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Get you on your feet.
Where did you
Girls, we've got to go
perform?
to karaoke. 'Cause I love it.
Where did you perform?
Oh, just local, like pubs, festivals.
Like actual
Yeah.
money.
Yeah. I mean, not loads.
Huh?
How
I mean, I was never going to make a career of that, but here I am.
How do you know? I mean, you could still.
No, I can't. I don't think I'm that good.
Let's go
I
back
just
to
like doing it for fun.
17-year-old Ashleigh. Go back to her.
Like,
Believe in
hello.
yourself.
Look at your life. Look at your choices, girl.
Yeah, I know. Now I'm here. It's crazy.
So, rehab, singing, Amy Winehouse.
I didn't go to rehab. I
No,
just like trying to specify.
Well,
yet.
she didn't want to either. She wrote a whole song about it. Okay, so you were covering Amy Winehouse and then studied drama, English, and then a national certificate
Of journalism.
of journalism.
Yeah, so I went back to college actually after my degree, and I did a full-time like 5-month course where I learned about media law. I did shorthand. So I just
Shorthand.
yeah. So
Have you not seen shorthand?
I am very old, and I studied journalism a long time before you, and they didn't even bother
really,
with shorthand
it
with
was
us.
so hard, and I don't
you
think
still
I've
know how
ever
to do it?
used it. I actually sometimes I do like test myself out. I did 100 words per minute. It was tough.
Gosh.
But I got there. And while I did that, I was I'd got in contact with my local BBC radio because I did student radio and managed to pick up some hours there just shadowing. And it kind of went from there.
What went from there? Where then?
So I was shadowing on the Saturday breakfast show. I'd get up every Saturday at 5 a.m.
Mhm.
and then I would just watch how they did it. And I think it was like 6 a.m. till 9 a.m. show. And I got on really well with the team there. Anyway, the producer went on maternity leave. Yes! She's amazing. But it gave me an opportunity to actually be paid, and I got to sit in the seat and produce the show. I then went on to produce the breakfast show there, the weekday breakfast show. And then went to Sky, and it's just been a roller coaster. And it's just amazing.
Do you know that
Amazing. So
Ashleigh
good.
was my producer last year?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've worked with these two as well on that contract. So it's been...
See, this is so good that the tables are
it?
totally turned.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so
So
much.
Ashley was sending me briefs, calling me, saying, "Are you ready for the shoot? Is everything okay? Like, we've organised this. I'm like,
Was
this
she a
is-
nightmare?
Oh, yeah. No, she's an absolute pleasure. Yeah, no, I mean, it has been crazy. I got my job at Sky Sports and never in a million years dreamt that I could work for someone like Sky. I'd not even thought about it. And it wasn't until one of my best friends went for a job there and didn't get it that I saw a rugby assistant producer come up, and I was like, oh, what have I got to lose? I'm just going to do it. And I knew that I wanted to be a reporter or do something like that. And I just thought to myself, if I go into this interview and I'm 100% myself, I don't think I'm going to get it anyway. So I might as well be 100% myself and tell them what my aspirations are, what my goals are. And I did. And it's literally been the best thing I ever did. I was in a fantastic team, and I loved that job so much. And it gave me so much experience because I'd never worked in telly, didn't know what an assistant producer was. I didn't know what they did. I only knew what they did for radio. So yeah, it was a huge learning curve for me, but I was in good hands there.
And that's what we have in common. We both worked in campus radio, and campus radio and community radio, but radio in general is just such a brilliant place to learn. And like that's what, when people say to me, oh, I want to also work in broadcasting, I always say, you have to just go to the nearest radio station that'll let you do almost anything there. Yeah,
I mean, I was knocking at the door trying to read the news. I was doing travel bulletins. It's like getting used to the red light, when the mic goes up and you're like, I've suddenly got like really dry mouth. I can't talk. And it's kind of just getting used to that and being able to feel comfortable in that situation. It was such a good experience for me. And, it was a great foundation for my career now.
When I worked at a radio station in South Africa, which was, I think, the closest comparable British version is Radio 1, so it's like a youth national station. I had a much very, very heavy Afrikaans accent. It was very thick at that stage. And no one it's literally the uncoolest accent you can have on God's green earth. So I used to get so much trolling from people, like so many hateful messages about like, can someone please take this person off air? Because
even in South Africa?
Yeah, in South Africa, because it is not a very celebrated language. It has a bit of a history and a hangover. Nice. So, and I took some real flack. And for a while, I tried to be as neutral. I tried to really shave off the edges of my accent, which I have done by virtue of the fact that I have an English-speaking husband. So I spoke a lot of English at home in order to just really work at it. But I really tried to get rid of that. Yeah. And then I realized at one point, wait a minute, that's literally the only thing that distinguishes me here. Because when people can't see you and they can just hear your voice, then all of those little idiosyncrasies about who you are, those are the things that people hold on to, which is what I think you do really well and very naturally. You're just 100% Ashleigh.
I think being who you are is like your superpower, isn't it? It sounds so cliche, but I just think, I always think this with jobs that come my way and jobs that don't come my way as well. I think if a door opens for me, that means that hopefully that job was meant to be mine. And if I don't get the job, that's okay too, because it wasn't meant for me at the time. And I think in this industry, you kind of have to be like that. And also your peers, like I've worked with some amazing women who do a very similar job to me, and it's about bringing each other up. So if I can't do a job, or if I need cover for something, I'll recommend somebody that I know or whatever. It's about helping each other out. And and I hope that I never change like that. I think and also hopefully just being a nice person to be around and work with. It does help. And a lot can be said for that. Like the other day I was working in the gallery at Sky, and I don't know why we didn't have
the gallery.
Oh, sorry.
What is the gallery, Mo?
Oh, go on, Mo.
Oh, go on, Mo.
With all the tellies.
That is
the control room.
If you're after a technical answer, you're not going to
steady now. You didn't let me finish.
It's the cockpit, basically, but the TV one.
Yeah, I was working there doing some of the netball. So I've worked on the netball all season as like working in the gallery. But some of my team was so busy, and I'd had like a bit of relief. I had like 5 minutes where I wasn't doing anything. They hadn't eaten. So I was like, right, guys, I'm going to get a round of teas. I'm going to get some food for you. And it's just about being part of the team like that, like seeing when people need stuff. Like it doesn't have to just be like work focused. It's just looking after each other, because you guys know when it's live, you don't stop. When you're working on a program, it's just like constant. So if you've got time to help each other out, no matter what level you're at, I think just being helpful in any way is nice.
I'm interested in your perspective on like this whole business, because it is a team sport, but it is a team with hierarchies. Like coming into it, what have you kind of learned or seen that you go, they could actually maybe do this better, or this is actually really impressive. I can't believe what these people do.
For me, well, firstly, it's very impressive. I was hopefully trying to allude to that earlier with like being your side of it, both of you. That would stress me out ridiculously. Things go out of my head when I'm answering a question, let alone when I'm trying to think of one to pose to somebody or trying to pull something together. But I think the biggest thing for me, two things: the importance of good communication, I think, is massive. Like when your producer, director speaking to you, whether it's through the week or actually on set at the time, what they say to you and how they say it to you, I think is super important. And also keeping an environment relaxed and it might just be me, but I personally feel way more comfortable and hopefully do a better job when I am probably more myself, which is a more relaxed version, rather than someone being like, right, you're on in 5, everybody concentrate, and you being like a bit like stiff and uptight and being like, oh my good God, what am I saying? And it's then very like media handbook rather than actually letting a little bit of yourself out.
But it's also not open heart surgery.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
just telling.
we're not shooting rockets into space. What's the worst thing that can happen?
But can you relate to that? Like, you've probably had both sides of that, I'm sure, if I have in my very small, limited experience.
Yeah, I think the best producers I've worked with have made sure that I just feel comfortable and I feel, like you say, good communication. You know exactly what's going on. And then I've got like space in my brain to be like talking to my guests and just, you know, enjoying, actually trying to take a step back and enjoy the whole process as well, as opposed to being like, I've got this here, these are the timings, we can't overrun, there's an outbreak. Like, it's so much to think about, but actually being in the moment and actually being able to listen to your guests, I mean, that's the aim, to actually be able to engage in the conversation, I think.
Yeah.
Can you relate to the whole finding your voice and figuring out like how much of yourself you need to kind of bring to the microphone, because you do it really well. And I feel like for you, it's just natural. Hey.
Yeah, I can't say that I've like actively thought about it.
No.
I think for me, the big thing is my prep that I do beforehand. So I like I know that I've worked with different companies before, and sometimes you get a massive sheet of loads of stats. I love stats. Like, I'm such a rugby nose. Like, I genuinely,
a proper
I
stats
love it.
Yeah.
Honestly,
You're always on the WhatsApp group.
Do you know
Anyone
what I mean? Dissecting the information.
She's the sort of person that receives an Excel spreadsheet and then like pauses everything, spends the next like hour just like zooming in on certain bits of it.
It's that GIF with like the crosses,
Do you
the
know what I mean?
minuses and the pluses floating around your
I
head.
love maths as well. Like, I think that's where it comes from. Numbers.
cute.
Do you know what I mean? Do you know why?
Why?
It's the same in every country. I just love that. There you are. There's a bit
Quote of the day.
deep for you.
Wow. That just escalated.
Yeah, so it's the one thing that she's got on me, I think. That's why. Yeah, I think like doing the prep work and stuff like that, I think people don't understand like how much you put into that. Like, especially for me, because like some people that I work with, you don't necessarily get a lot like pre-match. So it's like all the stats, how many caps people have got, like tries scored this season, all of that sort of stuff. I'll try and have as much background, and I never use it. Like, I literally never, ever use it.
Yeah.
But in that one case that like someone gets injured and goes down and you have to talk about them for a while, like you need to have information on them. So like, I think that's the one thing for me that people don't really see and don't understand. You know, like the girls that are like, oh, sort me out, like get me a gig on. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone,
You don't just turn
wants to
up.
do it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? But
You had to do a good fill that time when the lights went out in France, didn't you?
oh, that was ridiculous. That was literally like a 15, 20-minute fill.
I bet you were glad of your prep then.
The lights went off 63 minutes, was it?
Yeah.
But obviously it was the England girls, so I knew a lot about them. Obviously I knew the manager, so like Harriet Martin, so I could talk about her role, what was going on, and then like Scaz and Sunta came on screen, so that helped me, because obviously don't really need a lot of prep on those
We
girls.
can talk about Scaz for about 45 minutes
Literally
straight.
all day. But yeah, so I think like that's the bit.
Do you know, speaking of covering other sports, working on the Cricket World Cup with the World Feed broadcast crew in 2019 was probably one of the most formative broadcast experiences for me, because it rained the whole time.
Did you see any cricket?
It's in England, wasn't it?
amount of rain
Wow.
that England and Wales experienced in the summer of 2019 was, even for England, impressive. And the listening to, especially 5 Live, they do it really well. But just cricket commentators and their ability to just talk about tea
We're pretty good at that in
for
England.
25 minutes. And that is just, I mean, that
Tea and
is,
the weather, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
Tick,
gosh.
tick.
it's the stuff that people...
Don't get us started.
No, I mean, it was really like I sat in the back of the commentary room and I just kind of marveled at the skill and also the experience and the comfort with which people could just kind of sit there and yarn on and not because I think it's fear. People can hear the fear.
Yeah.
They can-
Yeah, I think so. I think if you feel relaxed, then people are relaxed listening to you. Like if you give off a good energy in your broadcast, whatever it may be, hopefully those vibes are being, transferred.
Energy.
Energy.
the energy.
It's all about the energy, Emily. So I've been trying to get her to film something for me this week with a lot of energy.
How's that going, Scaz?
Not good. 4 seconds of energy is all she needs, and I've really struggled.
I needed to come in on 3.5 seconds with loads, like 150% energy.
But as we've just spoken about, Ashleigh, it's very important to be authentic and be yourself.
And she's like, I'm not
Whoa.
150% energy.
Elma picked the wrong girl.
As I said, if you just want someone else, I won't be offended.
What's the most nervous you've been?
That's such a good question. I think probably for my first Sheffield United gig, maybe when I was doing my screen test, I was quite nervous, and they just kept saying, "Slow down, just when you talk, just slower." I was like, okay. I was so excited because these girls know I do get very excited, and then that means I talk quicker, and as a broadcaster, that's not really a good thing. So when I was doing my screen test, but I got the gig, so it was all right. But my first show as well, I'd never hosted a 1-hour program build-up show, especially to a sport that wasn't my first sport. I think I was quite nervous that day.
But that's where you learn. Is when you are so outside of your comfort zone. Because I think the mistake that we make when we talk about things that we really love is we presuppose so much knowledge. We assume everyone knows like the basic background of almost every player because we know. You know, and you know, and you know. So you tend to, you forget, you unlearn the ability to be a complete outsider because your job, this is the way I see it, is to be the wide end of the funnel. Emily's job is to speak to, and Mo's job is to really kind of make the middle part of it really accessible and lead people deeper in. Yeah. But you're the first person they see. You're the first voice we hear. Yeah. And people might, in those first 5 seconds, decide to just watch Netflix. And your job is to, at that wide end of the funnel, go fetch them and bring them in. Yeah. And there you can't be judgy or in-jokey or inaccessible. There you need to be. Like, you have to ask the dumbest questions.
Yeah, you do, actually. Sometimes I find myself asking these questions and I'm like, oh, what are people going to think about that? But also, the biggest bit of feedback I've ever had is, actually, keep your questions short if you have to. Don't feel like you have to say all of your knowledge and then ask the question, because you don't have to. That's not your job. Your job is to navigate the conversation, and your guests, that's what they're there for, because they are experts in their field and they have the experience. So, use that to your advantage. And hopefully when you're like you say, me and Mo have worked a lot this season together, hopefully you build up, a friendship, and then that's nice to watch as well. Like, everyone, especially in the Premier 15s, I think, like you say with the final, you see all the different faces that you've been seeing across the season, and it's like a little reunion. Everyone's in a really good mood. It's like, oh, we're working together again. That's really nice. And it takes time to build up those relationships, but they're so important. And and it brings out the best in you because you're around people who support you and who you enjoy their company as well. So.
Let's talk about living in uncomfortable places such as live TV, but also the industry that requires you to be available at the drop of a hat. Like, to be called off the bench at any moment. I have gone on holidays and packed my earpiece.
Oh, wow.
Have you?
I haven't done that yet. What is that?
Did you use it?
Why did you do that? Because you couldn't
so
switch
she can
off.
talk to Richard from the other side of the pool.
No.
I find it hard to switch off.
No, literally, just like, I know enough people in the industry that if they know I'm in... So, to put it in perspective, I landed in New York the day of the Boston bombings.
Right.
Oh.
And if you are a journalist, you're always... Like, when I hear of earthquakes or big things happening, I'm always a little envious of the people who get to rush towards the drama and not away from it. But that's obviously a little kooky. That's not right. There's something wrong in your brain if you're that person. And there is a part of me that's kind of always going, well, I could just do a live crossing from there if I have an earpiece, because that's the one thing I can't use yours. My ear, the mold is different. So if I have that part, anyone can give me an IFB and I can do a live crossing almost anywhere in the world, speaking to almost anyone else. If I just have that thing with me, that's really, the rest of the equipment is on board.
Yeah, I haven't done that. But I do go on holiday next week, so who knows?
No. But you had to go freelance.
Where are you going, just so we know? In case?
Going to Turkey.
Okay, fine.
Maybe I've jinxed it now. I hope nothing happens.
No.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. But yeah, sorry, what were you saying?
No, but you went freelance and now you're living that life where you have to kind of almost be ready to adapt your lifestyle to the opportunities and how they present themselves and when. Why are you pulling that face?
Yeah, because you're so right. Like the lifestyle of being a freelancer in media is tough. And I think it's so hard to say no, because if things are coming up, you're like, oh, well, yeah. And then all of a sudden you've done 18 days in a row and you're like, oh my God. Like, and your brain can't function, even though in your calendar it looks really great. So you're like, oh, I'm so busy and I love my job.
Ching,
and
ching, ching.
Yeah,
Ching, ching,
and
ching. Invoice. And
I can pay my bills. But then you're like, oh, I can't really function very well anymore.
I'm a little
tired. But I think I'm very new to it. So I'm trying to find more of a balance as well. And I think, you find your own limits to stuff, but it is hard to say no.
Are you still really glad you made that decision?
Oh my goodness,
it's an unbelievably brave one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was really scared, I think, last year when I decided to leave my full-time job and go for it. But fortunately for me, I was in like a position where I was like, financially, I could afford to just about pay my bills for a few months and just think, I'm just gonna go for it. And at the time, Sky had reached out to me and said, is this something that you'd be interested in doing, coming back freelancing a bit? And I was like, I'm not really sure, but like what are you offering basically? Like what's the deal? And it was just an opportunity I couldn't say no to, and it's just kind of gone from there. They offered me like a 3-month rolling thing with loads of the different sports, and it just gave me the freedom. I could say yes to certain days, no to certain days, and it gave me the freedom to then continue with my Sheffield United stuff, do the Premier 15s bits, and then actually push myself into different spaces and try different things, which has obviously led to loads of stuff the past 8-10 months, however long it's been.
And just after you went freelance, you won an award for a project that you worked very hard on all of last year. Yeah. So you're not just a presenter. There's so much in your arsenal. You can fill so many different roles. Do you want to tell us about the award?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think I always started in production as an assistant producer and content producer and what have you. And I was working for Whisper on the World Rugby contract, and I was producing the Whistle Watch show with Nigel Owens, and it was fantastic. It was really tough. It really challenged me and it really pushed me. But ultimately, we won a Broadcast Sport Award, and I couldn't be prouder. Yeah, it was such an amazing achievement. I was actually at the live podcast that you guys did at the Prince, was it, when I found out? And I remember just crying to Elma and was like, I can't believe it. I was like, we've won.
And we were like the only two people that night that knew that she just won a massive award in absentia. She's like, I can't believe it.
Everyone just thought I really didn't like the podcast.
Savage.
No, it was amazing. I'm so proud.
So what's Nigel really like? Because he likes you.
Did you go to the farm?
I went to the farm so many times. I think that's the thing. There was a lot of hours put into that, and where he lives, it's not just down the road. I think it's like a 4-hour drive. So by the time you're there, you set up, you've had a cup of tea. No, it was a lot, but he is amazing. He's so wonderful to work with. We got on really, really well, and he was so worth the effort. He was so worth the drive. Like some days I'd go down on a Sunday and I'm like, oh, I'm missing my Sunday roast. But you know what? He's at the other end of it, and he just always made me laugh. And I think we had a great working relationship, and hopefully that contributed to the award, because hopefully we got the best out of him. I mean, he's such a character anyway. He doesn't really need producing. He can just do it by himself. But yeah, it was absolutely wonderful.
You've done some interesting things. So you've done the Six Nations, Islands Prem, Vitality Netball Super League final.
Yeah.
The London Sevens. You did loads of stuff there. You were at the Oval on Friday.
What have you enjoyed the most this year? Because I feel like you've done so much.
Oh, I think it's got to be the Women's Six Nations, 100%.
Fair.
Like, I've worked across the Women's League for a good few seasons now, and seeing the crowd, seeing the support, seeing the growth, it's absolutely amazing. And I think having seen it grow over those seasons, being there in the moment, your 100th cap, being in the middle of the pitch with you, I just thought, it's just amazing. thing. Yeah, exactly. And it's just those moments you just want to soak up, and you just think, I'm really proud to be part of this women's sport in general, but also just women's rugby. I love it.
And being a woman in sport, I think I have more war stories than you do, but you have the fair share of war stories of your own.
Yeah.
Is there anything you hope to see change? Is there a way in which you are trying to affect change?
That's a very good question. Yeah, I think being a woman in sport is tough because we all know it's male dominated. I think I've been in situations before where I haven't always felt like I could be myself. And when I'm in those situations, I know that that's not the right place for me. So I have to just, follow my head and my heart. Hopefully they say the same thing. And I guess that's why I've made some of the decisions in my career that I have done. But ultimately those decisions, make you who you are and open different doors for you. So it can be tough though, but also it can be absolutely amazing. You can work with some people who are so supportive, and 90% of the time that is the case. So it's just a few moments. I think everyone's going to have it no matter what career you're in. But it, it's character building. That's what my mum says.
Good on mum.
Another thing we have in common is we both recently read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. Have you read it?
Can I tell you a story about Mo's reading ability? Not her reading ability. The girl can obviously read. Sorry.
She's deep within the mathematics.
Yes.
She can read.
She's numbers, not words. Yeah. So obviously Mo and I have been very good friends for a while, and we holiday.
You have?
Yeah, we have. For anyone who didn't know, disclaimer.
No.
Scaz also lives on a farm. So oh,
I've been there. It's lovely. Yeah. I've been to that farm as well.
Anyway,
in the farm.
I know. So we've holidayed quite a lot together, and I'm not joking you. For about 3 years in a row, obviously holidays, people bring books and they sit on the lounge. I read the book, lovely. For 3 years in a row, Mo brought the exact same goddamn book, read about 2 pages in a week. And then flew home. And then the next year brings us the same book. And the next year. And I was like, on the last holiday, hold on a minute. On the last holiday, I was like, mate, can I have that book? And I read about half of it on the plane journey. And she was still on page 12.
Guys.
She just needs to not bother. So no, she hasn't read that book. I can tell you that categorically.
Guys, I've literally read one chapter and I think I've read it 4 times because I can't remember what happens. And it's not even a little book. It's like a big hard copy. And I genuinely took it everywhere with me for about 4 years.
But it's not a heavy book. It's Ben Ryan's Sevens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a good book.
It's really good.
It's a really fun read.
It's really good.
Fun, exactly.
Yeah, it's really
so
good.
You can rattle through it.
The writing's big, everything.
Lots of pictures.
Everything about it. I want to read it.
That is the most jock thing. The writing is big.
I love those books too, to be honest, mate.
Everything about it. I want to read it, and I've wanted to read it for so many years. And it's next to my bed now. At home, it's literally next to my bed.
There's audiobooks. You got this, girl.
I have to say, I love an audiobook because it allows me to still garden while I do it and allows me to just get on with things while I'm reading. So I didn't read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. I listened to it. I literally crunched through it in about 2 days because she kept on saying things and I was like, yes. And then I wish I could screen grab it and send it to people, but now it's all just in my brain because I've just heard it. And one of the things she said, and I even Instagrammed it, was that she there's a quote that she uses about when you're a woman and you do something, you are the first, and all of us just want to be the noun. We don't want to be the first women coach. We don't want to be the first woman to do anything or be in any space. We just want to be the first, in her case, CMO of Facebook. She just wants to be the CMO of Facebook, not the first female. She goes on about how none of us want to be qualified in that way. The first woman to do anything. You just want to be the best at your job, full stop, regardless of gender. But the world is going to still class us in that way. And you are going to get opportunities as a presenter because they go, we want a woman to lead this. And then men are going to go, oh, no, she only got it because she's a girl, which does happen. Mm-hmm. But you flex your femininity in a way that's really nice. What's the most important thing you think you got out of reading that? She has been roundly criticized by many people, and loads of feminists don't like a lot of the things that she says. But I felt really seen by that book, and the experience of reading it was really worth it for me. So go read it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, feeling seen and just being present, being yourself. And yeah, I don't want to get a job because I'm a woman. I really don't. I want to get it because I'm me and because I'm the best person for the job.
But what I love what she says is that we hold ourselves back. We class ourselves. We put ourselves in a box saying, here's a gap. Here's something I can do. And then I can be the first woman at doing this. Or maybe this isn't a space a woman should be going into.
Yeah, I know. That's a really tough question, to be honest. I think you just want to be acknowledged for who you are. And maybe some men in the industry will think, oh, they're treading on our toes a bit. But I think, in my experience, most of the men have been so supportive, or the ones that I've worked with. I think especially in the Women's League, there's so many unsung heroes behind the scenes who really let you thrive and give you those opportunities, and don't just do it because you're a woman, do it because they know, they see something in you, or they know that you're passionate about it. And I think 9 times out of 10, my experience has always been really positive.
So what's lying ahead in the great summer of women's sport? Because there is a few events coming up this year.
Yeah, Women's Rugby World Cup. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm excited for that, although not working on it.
Rugby World Cup 21 played in 22.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Available. So I'm really looking forward to that. Not looking forward to the times, obviously, of the games.
Yeah.
For us. That's the only thing, isn't it?
That's why you got to be there.
Yeah, right?
Or we can just have an all-nighter.
I love an all-nighter. I don't know the last time I pulled one when I was 17, channeling her.
I was literally talking to Rachel Burford about it this week. I was like, oh, all-nighter?
Yeah, let's have a sleepover.
Yeah, basically. Adult sleepovers watching Women's World Cup, Rugby World Cup 21 played in 22. Other things?
I'm going to be working on the Women's Euros, which is in July.
Nice.
That's going to be exciting. I think they've already sold out the final at Wembley for that.
I think quite a few are sold
Amazing.
out already.
There's a couple at Old Trafford and stuff, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's England's first game, isn't it, Old Trafford? But I'm doing most of the games played at Southampton, Brentford. I'm doing the final.
Ash.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm really excited. I hope nothing changes between now and then. Awkward. But that's the plan anyway.
Women's Euros, Wimbledon, World and European Athletics Champs, Commonwealth Games, you're doing comms?
Yeah, I do. Not presenting, just doing production work for netball, so that'll be just nice to be involved. And again, that's come from a contact that used to work at Sky, so it's just kind of like staying, if anyone does want to come into media, because it's a great place to work, but it's, people see what you're up to, and then it's going to be nice to be reunited there.
I like the way in which women who are athletes are showing up in different ways and are seen in different places, and like there's just not like everyone. When I was in high school, I felt like the female sporting ideal was Anna Kournikova. Why are you laughing?
Because that's like, I don't know, nothing, no reason.
Come on.
It's like my dad's favourite tennis player. There we are then.
Scaz dad proves the point. But she was so high profile. She had Enrique Iglesias on her arm. She was like Britney Spears meets sport.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, in terms of kind of role modeling, we're just seeing women show up in places looking different. Serena obviously had a huge impact on that in tennis, but there's just so much more, I feel like, visibility, and that's so powerful and great to see. I
saw Amy Williams was at the Isle of Man TT. It's the bike race that goes around the Isle of Man. But yeah, so it's a bike race, but she obviously was a skeleton bobslayer, but she was out there doing some stuff. This probably proves your point.
And also how women's sporting kit is like dominating. I saw a post about men's teams ahead of the Euros playing in kits that is obviously men's sizes, but is styled in the same way as the women kit looks in terms of football teams, kind of making the women's kit the default just for a little while to create more visibility and platform and higher profile and kind of
that's great.
Desirability.
I think that's great. And also, I think with the TikTok coming on board the Women's Six Nations, it gave the women an opportunity to show off their personalities, and that's what we want to see. Obviously, we all love the sport. We want to see them on the pitch, but they are amazing off the pitch as well. And I think shining a light on that gave them the freedom to be able to be themselves and post I was loving the TikToks from the girls. And I think, you know, we're seeing this new generation, this next, I think mainly in women's sport, they're allowed to express themselves and they're allowed to be who they want to be. And we can do it differently to men. Do you know what I mean? We can grow the game in a different way. And I think that's one thing I love about working in women's sport is that women are kind of on board with that. They
it's connecting to a different audience as well, isn't it?
100%.
The audience for the women's, maybe just speaking rugby, but audience for the women's rugby is way different to the audience of men's rugby. And that's a brilliant thing.
Yeah.
Like, let's not try and...
Is that the same in the other sports that you work on? That the women's audiences are just younger? Is it the same as...
I don't always think that they're younger, you know. I think there are lots of the younger generation who obviously love women's sport, but my dad loves women's sport. And I was shocked, to be honest. And sometimes he rings me up and tells me like the news, and I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard that. And we'll be chatting away about the netball or the rugby. And I think it's growing, not just with the younger generation. I think people are just enjoying it because they're seeing it more. And I think that's great. And that's exactly what we want, isn't it?
I think there's an accessibility as well. Like everyone, like you mentioned, people showing their personalities. I think that's like so apparent across the board, like on socials and stuff. And like people feel like they have a genuine connection with a lot of the girls, which I think is so like fresh and so important.
I want to show you this and go, imagine a men's sporting team wearing that kit.
They look sick.
That Stella
I love
McCarthy
that.
kit.
I've got an outfit for you then.
The Arsenal one.
I love that.
Can you imagine if a men's, like a high, top level, top tier men's test team comes out wearing that?
That's Joe Marler vibes,
I was
isn't
just
it?
about to
That is
say
very
yeah.
Joe Marler, but it's almost no one else in all of rugby.
Yeah, he's leading from the front on that one. I really want the other players to jump on the bandwagon, to be honest, because
amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, he's letting you like showing people that you can express yourself, and that's okay. I think what he did with Rugby World magazine the other day was amazing. And then he posted it on his Instagram and said, be who you want to be. Like that's it. And yeah, you can be. You don't just have to be an athlete. You can be you as well. And I love that about Joe. I just wish that the other players were encouraged a bit more like the women are as well. Because we need to grow. Obviously, we need to grow rugby as a sport, not just women's rugby. We just need it to grow.
Yeah, for more personalities.
Yeah.
But not all of us like to wear things like that as well. So and that's important.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to. You don't have to do that. But you can express yourself in other ways, can't you?
Yeah, 100%.
So it doesn't have to be what you wear. But I think it's nice. Like TikTok, dancing. It's a different medium. Do you like dancing, Scaz?
Well,
I do enjoy a bit of dancing, but not on TikTok. I won't lie to you.
Oh, we'll work on that.
Scaz also doesn't
When
know.
you sing, I'll dance.
Oh,
Right
Ooh.
now.
now.
Not here.
Now.
Immediately.
It's going to be a TikTok. It's going to be a TikTok, guys, okay?
Slow clap out.
Let us come on. No, stop it. Honestly, stop it. Scaz, what have you done?
We still have
people what they want.
We have only just this week taught Scaz what FTW stands for. So
Yeah, that took me no time to get before the show.
So come on, let's just pace ourselves a bit.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. There has been some other rugby played over the weekend in Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. We spoke to Kate Zachary. If you didn't watch that episode, what have you been doing with your life? The one where Emily was also coughing this much, but she was not in a studio.
Slightly more.
There should be a drinking game where you listen to this again, but then every time Emily coughs, you take a shot.
Well, I'm sad that we don't have one right now.
I was going to say we should have just brought one of the boys' bottles of gin with us. Canada 36-5 over the USA, but they did miss a few players. All that North American muscle that just flew out.
The final, yeah. Can we also appreciate how miserable the day was that they played in?
God.
I thought you were going to say somebody was then.
Oh, no, sorry. How miserable. Steady. Please. We talk about rain here. Wowzers. I don't think I've seen something like that in a long time.
New Zealand, guys.
What's it like to play in weather when it's that miserable?
We're asking the questions, Ash.
Oh, right.
Joking.
Get back in your box.
What is it like presenting when it is chucking it down?
Yeah, miserable.
No, it is. But I think it was frustrating for me, and I hope it's not as miserable this weekend because rain like is a leveler a bit. So you don't really get to see. We didn't get to see the new way that New Zealand are trying to play under their new management and that sort of stuff, or their intention to play. We didn't get to see, how much these other nations have come on in the last however many months. So the rain is just a bit dull because all you've got to do, you just got to try and keep hold of the ball. Whoever probably drops it less is going to do better, play in the right areas, forward battle, blah, blah, blah. But so that was frustrating from my point of view, but geez, it looks wet.
The Wallaroos can take heart from the fact that they were ahead at half time.
Yeah.
So let's see what they do next up. New Zealand 23, Australia 10. They are meeting these two teams in the opening game of Rugby World Cup 2021 on the 8th of October.
Spicy.
It's a long time to go though before then, isn't there? So anything could happen.
I'm here for the Wallaroos.
Yeah.
Come on.
I think they started well.
Yeah, the forwards look good. Excuse me, just coughing.
Just punctuated. Another shot. I mean, someone is so drunk now.
I'm going to do it when I get home. When's this episode out? I can't wait. Can we FaceTime?
Do another one.
Let's do it together.
So we're going to do a live watch along on our Facebook page where we're all going to get really drunk.
Guys, I'm there for it. Let's do it.
Okay, well, predictions for that opening game. Let's go.
What, New Zealand, Australia?
Yeah.
I can't go past New Zealand after that amount of time in their home country, home World Cup.
Conditions, fans, home ground advantage.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a lot of things, isn't there?
Do you know what? I took people's predictions on Friday.
Who won?
Shira. I think Shira actually came the closest of everyone to predicting the
Well done,
under-15s.
Shira.
So producer Shira, turns out producer Shira
She actually
has a clue. She knows exactly what's going to happen. And that's why she plans the show so well. So this episode was a celebration of producers who know their stuff and who take brave steps into the future and back themselves.
Thank you. I think if anyone's listening and they want a career in this industry, I think I love it. It's so fun. You get to meet loads of fun people. You do have to work, like in my case, you do have to work really, really hard, but it's so worth it.
What is your nerves hack? So I love performance psychology. And there's this interview in which Dan Carter talks about playing with a rubber band around his wrist. And then when he starts like feeling like he's not focused or he just needs to woosah during a game, he would snap that and would kind of bring him back to, it's like something that he trained with a performance psychologist who works with the All Blacks. Because, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows, but they were really bad at one point and then they won 3 World Cups. And this is how they did it, little plastic bands. And I've always been fascinated by that because what you do when you're leading a broadcast, when you're the first voice and the first face that brings people in but also sends them off, and hopefully they'll come back next time after the ad break, is performance. That is performance psychology at its peak. What is your performance hack? How do you, is there anything you've learned where you're like, oh, I should do that the next time?
I think because I studied drama, I was always excited for the curtains to open or, for the red light to go. And it really depends on the day. Some days I still turn up and I'm like, God, I've forgotten your name already. And it's just one of those things. Other days I feel really switched on. It's just, it comes with that. But no, I don't think I've got any twitches, but I do like to go, ma.
No, I don't think I've got any, but what I do like to do.
I'm the
Yeah, that bit was good.
Sorry, can we do that again?
That's a High School Musical thing, aka back in the day. Just loved it.
When do you do that?
Just beforehand, just when I'm getting myself in the mood.
In the bathroom?
No, I don't really mind who I'm in front of. Yeah, I mean, normally it's not live.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go.
Do you warm up your voice? Do you do breathing exercises? Are you deep drama like that?
No, I don't think so, May.
That was quite deep drama, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's quite deep drama.
And
have I
Zen.
seen this? I feel like I haven't seen this.
Well, maybe I do keep it a bit quiet. Maybe there's a reason for that.
No, I love it.
Time.
I'm going to do it with you next time.
Okay, great.
100%. I'm there.
Maybe we can make it into TikTok. She says not being on TikTok.
I worked with a guy who always believed that as long as you start well, the rest of it will go well. So he always he needed a good ramp in. And then once that's there, then the whole thing, it's like dominoes. It's like just momentum.
I think mentally, once I get through my first, hello, and then I've got everyone's names right, I feel good. because it's happened before and I haven't done that. And in fact, it's happened recently and I just think, I'm never going to be booked again. But it's just, it's part and parcel. You just meet so many people and then all of a sudden you're like, you're not Anna. But,
I keep calling her Mo Scarrett. And I mean, she's still here. She has not completely...
Most people don't bat an eyelid, which is the awkward thing.
Yeah. We're debating if it's an upgrade or not. So answers on a postcard.
My advice on that is do it. So one of the things I realized only way too late in my career was that feeling, no matter how you are really scared beforehand sometimes and nervous, once you've done it and you've completed and you haven't completely gotten someone's name wrong right in the first link or something, if you've done a relatively passable job, you tend to leave feeling quite elated and a relief, but also enjoyment and satisfaction at having just completed. Like, that's like, it's done.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about it, like live TV that I love. You don't have to go and edit it. It's done. It's over. We can all go home now and have a beer.
Which is good if you've done a good job, but otherwise it's like, oh God.
Replaying
on
a loop.
And this is the thing. I think I've done shows where I've finished and I've gone, oh, that bit wasn't very smooth. That bit wasn't very good. And I'm thinking about it. And then actually I go back and I watch it because I do think it's important to watch your own work
yes,
to improve.
Yes.
Even though I don't particularly enjoy it.
You have to.
But yeah.
You have to.
Yes.
Tip,
Yes.
Go back and watch it and then you're like, oh, it wasn't actually as bad as I thought, like hyped it up in my head to be.
That always happens. And we can relate because we'll play a game, we're like, flipping heck, had a shocker there, did this, did that.
Yeah.
You watch it back, you're like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought.
More so me than Scaz. Scaz is always like, go watch it back.
But I am absolutely fascinated by that because the number of players, I've done post-match interviews and then after I'd go, geez, you were on fire. And they're like,
Crack a smile.
did you not see any of that?
I think it's just the way that everyone's like wired though. Like you always remember your mistakes. You never remember like, oh, I nailed that or that pass, or like you always go to the one thing that you got wrong.
And I think if you are patting yourself on the back, you're probably not developing and progressing and really like you're not that
well
person
done.
that's
if you do that all the time, you're not going to get
you're
better.
not sat here, you're not sat there. Not sat there.
Well,
Thank you, Scaz.
I now go into things that I'm really scared of with that, like I literally try and visualize the feeling of relief and elation and happiness when I've done it well and I can feel it in my stomach. And then that's how I start.
And I think that helps with preparation as well. You it's all to get to that feeling. So it's all of the prep that nobody sees beforehand. Yeah. It's knowing where you're going to go. It's feeling confident. And then at the end, just being like, all that hard work was worth it. And I feel really good and I'm really proud. But also I think feedback, that's something that I like to do. I always ask my producer, even if I feel like I've had a particularly good show, I just still think there's definitely things I could improve on, whether that's how I word my questions. I always just think feedback is very good.
But that's why I give so much unsolicited feedback. I'm sure people are so tired of hearing unsolicited feedback from me, but I'm always like your dress. I mean, always there in the DMs with Ashleigh going, this was really nice.
No, but that's really nice.
Yeah.
Being supportive and just across the board on Instagram or whatever. I mean, I've had other people, like my peers, just slide into my messages and just say, great job. And you just think, thank you so much. Like I'm loving your work as well. And, it's really nice that everyone can just, help each other out and support each other. That's why I love this job.
Be kind, rewind.
But it's obviously not always like that.
Be kind, rewind.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
They're giving away our age. Yeah. Because Ashleigh's like,
Yeah, I'm lost with that one.
No, I didn't really.
Never mind.
Oh, is it from something? Yeah. I just thought it was.
made that up.
I just thought you were saying be kind, yeah, great, and then rewind as in rewatch stuff, which you were just going on about. No,
Okay, I'm alone in my
just
head.
Elma show her age.
Yeah, it's a movie reference. Never mind. Thank you very much for joining us, Ashleigh Wilmot.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Here's to the Euros and the Commonwealth Games and all of the amazing things you are still going to do this year. And to a brilliant Allianz Prem 15.
Can I also just say, sorry, at the end of the show, it's always really nice as a athlete to come off the pitch and have to talk to the media and see a big smiling face. Someone's going to give you a hug, someone that you know, and someone that you know is going to, like, I guess, appreciate what you've just done, take for granted that you are a person as well. So it's actually, from us, it's really nice.
No,
like that
100%.
100th cap, obviously that was a wild day for me personally, and seeing you in the middle, I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Oh, that means
So stuff like that is
much
really
to me.
nice.
Thank you.
But I think also like so inspiring hearing like both of you talk about it. I think like because we've obviously worked a lot together and actually sat back and listening to you guys speak, like genuinely so inspired about how driven you are, what you've done to get to where you are, and
100%.
hope that that's come across to everyone else because
I already want to come back.
Ashleigh is going to cry any moment now.
No, it's just really nice because I work hard to try and be approachable and be personable, and I think that's all part of the job. So to hear that someone like doesn't mind coming over and having a chat at the end, I just think that's really nice. Like, thank you. And thank you for making my job so fun as well.
Okay.
It's one big love in.
So I was going to say, before all of us are in tears, we're going to leave it there for this week, but we'll probably definitely have some quality time with Ashleigh again in the future.
In the karaoke bar.
In the karaoke bar.
We're going on tour.
When Scaz is the dancer and, well, I don't know, Mo and I will be playing the triangle and the drums, respectively. Guess who's doing which one. This has been another episode of The Good, The Scaz and Rugby in partnership with Allianz. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week for, wait for it, an episode where we discuss the menstrual cycle, but in ways that, like, sport has never experienced before. Emily is literally canning herself. It is a rollicking good one with Fiona Pocock. Make sure that you don't miss that episode. See you then. Cheers.